Yeah.
Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of 4/17/13, the regular and the work sessions. Number 2 is payment of claims dated 5/22/13. Number 3 is the receipt of financial reports for the month of April of 2013. 4, we have a few communications. We have 4A, which are bid results received on 4/30/13 regarding 67th Street road improvements from Kennedy Boulevard to Palisade Avenue. 4B, bid results received 5/2/13 regarding swimming pool renovations. 4C is bid results received 5/9/13 regarding printing services. 4D is RFQ results received 5/9/13 regarding grant writing services. 4E is RFQ results received 5/9/13 regarding public defender for the second occasion. 4F is RFQ results received 5/9/13 regarding planning services. 4G is bid results received 5/21/13 regarding summer food services. 4H is a report by the Chief Financial Officer of GOB sale results of May 15, 2013. 4I, you're having a PowerPoint presentation, right?
No, not tonight.
So that's going to be taken off. 4I, there's
4I
no
taken out.
PowerPoint there.
A question. 4H?
Yes.
Oh, that's the grant, the lawn?
Yes.
4J is the commendation for various police officers. And 4K is town engineer's monthly status report dated 5/17/13. Do you need to? The roll call, that's of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
we don't need to. No.
It's up to you. Want me to update now anything on that?
Yeah, if you, anybody have any questions for the engineer? The Dewey Park should be done.
Hoping next week
Yeah.
to be open.
I mean, the water line was put in, the electric is run,
Finishing concrete tonight, they're actually pouring right now.
and we spoke to the security camera, we had a meeting yesterday with the security camera company, they have the cameras, they're ready to go. So, it's the finishing touches at that point. So, Fillmore Park, they're gonna start knocking that out.
We're hoping by the middle of June, Fillmore Park will be done too. It's not as much work over there.
I'm missing Jake. I don't have this in my package, Jake.
All right.
There is no, I think.
There's nothing.
He's got, okay,
Yeah.
the police,
Now, with Fillmore Park, the summer program that usually uses the park for,
it'll be done.
I actually spoke with someone
okay,
and I told them that it would be done. I told the contractor that it had to be done. We actually told them a couple weeks early. So-
yeah, because that's one of our sites.
Yeah.
And then the other item on the agenda, which you will see, is the 67th Street road improvement. So 67th Street should be paved sometime in August of this year.
Is that the same one that you were telling me about?
Yeah, no, 51st is another one. It's the
No, the one that has all the holes.
That was
No,
66.
that's the 66 and 51st.
66, we got
Yeah, you told me.
new money from the
Yeah,
DOT,
money from the-
and Rob, the engineer, is working on the plan for that as we speak.
Okay. Then we have no proclamations, and then we have resolutions. Oh, we're gonna go to the budget resolutions, correct? Okay. We're gonna open up the hearing for the amendments to the calendar year 2013 budget that were introduced on 4/17/13. We're gonna open up the floor just for those, for the hearing for that.
Okay.
Then we'll close the floor, and then we're moving on to R1, which, what we're gonna do with R1.
R1, is that the amendment?
Yeah, that's gonna
That's,
be,
just,
that's gonna get removed.
that's removed?
Okay, we're gonna put it as pulled in the work
Pulled,
session.
exactly. And the next one is, adjourned until, or carried until the 19th.
Right, so
of
then
June.
R2, the resolution, the adoption of the calendar year 2013 budget with all the amendments will be carried on to the regular commission meeting of June 19th at 12 noon.
Right, but in, I guess in lieu of the resolution one, we have to set the agenda for special Board of Commissioner meetings for June 5th for the purpose of the budget amendment and the public hearing. No, I'm sorry, there won't be a public hearing. The public hearing, right, just the budget amendment.
So I have to say that, we're just saying we approve it at the work session.
Right, and what I'll do on that meeting date is I'll do the PowerPoint presentation of the budget on June 5th, correct?
Does it fall?
Yes.
We're
Well-
gonna check everyone's calendars
Right.
and make sure.
The regular meeting is at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Regular commission meeting in June, July, and August.
This amendment's gonna require a publication and a public hearing, that's why I need 2 weeks in
We can do
between.
that night. We can pick the time for that, so we'll just check it.
Could you do me a favor, the 4G, I know we had an issue, could you just briefly
Yeah,
describe?
the bids were received by the clerk's office. The purchasing agent Zender was there, but more importantly, a representative from the state. This is a state-run program, and the representative was there when the bids opened. One bid was rejected because it didn't contain any amount, and the other bid was rejected because there was inconsistent bids made by the same vendor. They had two different bids that stated two different amounts, so the state representative who has to sign off on this particular program rejected both bids. The good news is there's a resolution on tonight's meeting reauthorizing receipt of that. We checked with the state, they are okay with us doing that at the next public meeting, which is June 19th.
Okay,
We still will be in time, we're not in jeopardy of anything.
We're gonna receive on June 11th.
And
okay.
Publication's gonna be done on the 28th. It's already been sent to the paper. Publication's gonna be on the 28th, and it's gonna be, I guess, awarded in the June 19th.
so she'll come back on
But we're
June
gonna receive
11th,
on the 11th, right.
and she's there, she's the ultimate one. Just so you know, the summer food, they have to actually bring a sample.
What they're serving.
Of what a typical meal, this is all based upon nutrition value and things of that nature. Hopefully she will sign off on it in June 11th, we'll know who it is, we will award it in June, and there's more than enough time to do the program. The other good news is we received more money than we've had in the past for this program, so we should be able to feed a substantial amount of more children, or even extend the program for the full summer. Because usually we do it for
4, 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, we might be able to do it for 8.
Okay.
I mean, there's flexibility in how that goes.
Okay.
In terms of, but we do have, I think, how much was the final amount, Mark? It was like 160 or something?
About 169.
Yeah, whereas in the past, I think we got 120,
Yeah, and this budget only anticipated 120, so.
so it's
a
another
very-
$40,000.
So that can carry us for another 2.5 weeks,
Correct, or
if we need to extend it.
we're exploring different options, maybe you can do on a Saturday even,
Okay.
You know, there's different ways that we're gonna try to explore that. Maybe there's a Saturday where we can feed children.
Okay,
But the good news is we're in a position where we will be able to feed more, provide better service for the summer.
yeah, because we were short the first summer, we were anticipating, I think, 600, and we ended up with 8.
At first.
Okay, yeah.
And then
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna read the resolutions. R3 will be a reappointment of Charles D'Amico as a municipal court judge. Resolution number 4 is FY 2013 COPS hiring program. R5 is resolution regarding FY 2013 Bulletproof Vest Partnership BVP program. R6, a resolution regarding appointment of Robert Antelos as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator to fill the unexpired term of Michael Indry. R7 is the awarding resolution regarding 67th Street road improvements from Kennedy Boulevard to Palisade Avenue to Fort Cleanup. R8 is a resolution regarding approval of professional service agreement between the Town of West New York and Bruno Associates, Inc. for the grant writing services. R9 is a resolution regarding approval of professional service agreement between the Town of West New York and Mazer Consulting for planning services. R10 is awarding resolution regarding printing services for the Town of West New York to Royal Printing Services. R11 is awarding resolution regarding construction contract for municipal pool renovations to Rich Pacherno Builders LLC. R12 is amended resolution regarding approval of professional service regarding the services for auditing services. R13 is a resolution regarding for a shared services agreement between the Town of West New York and the West New York Parking Authority. R14 is a resolution requesting the planning board to amend, update, and revise the review the master plan. R15 resolution is tax corrections for 6050 Boulevard East. R16 has a tax correction for various locations. R17 is Hudson County Board Tax Appeals. R18 is tax corrections for 24 at Port Imperial. R19 is refunds of tax lien premiums. R20 is refunds of redemptions. R21 is refunds of tax overpayments. R22 is establishing a restricted parking in front of one resident for the use by handicapped residents as follows: 569 62nd Street for Louis Beaton. R23 is establishing a restricted parking in front of one resident for the use of a handicapped resident as follows: 402 58th Street for Florence M. Kamensky. R24 is authorizing the town of West New York to seek fair and open process in compliance with the pay-to-play statutes for the retention of fixed assets auditing services. R25 is appointment of German Alberto Chapin as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term of William Porras, which term expires on 12/13/2014. R26 is appointment of Robert DeVinson as a Class 2 member of the Planning Board. His term will go from 5/23/13 to 5/24/14, 22/14, excuse me. Resolution number 27 is approving a professional service agreement between the town of West New York and Remington and Bernick Engineers for environmental engineering services. R28 is authorizing the town clerk to advertise to receive bids for the summer food service program on the second occasion on Tuesday, June 11, 2013 at 10 a.m. in the town clerk's office.
We just got a couple of questions.
Yeah, we have put that in.
R28.
I got a couple of questions before we go forward, okay?
Sure.
On three,
Yep.
all right, as far as reappointment, since I've been here, we never appointed somebody for like 3-year terms. Even
No,
as a judge.
judges are 3-year terms.
They are all
Yeah,
3-year
by
terms?
statute, yeah.
Okay, so the last couple of years, obviously, we switched.
That's why,
up and down.
the only time is, no, it's always a 3-year term. Even if someone leaves earlier, the new judge technically is supposed to get a 3-year term.
Okay. Let me see what I got here. This R4 with the hiring program?
Correct.
All right. Do I understand? I'll just pull it up real quick. As far as the grant, are we matching money for this grant?
We have in the current budget, provision to hire 2 police officers.
Mm-hmm.
This grant would offset some of that cost. So we were already going to hire 2 police officers. We are seeking money from the federal government to help offset that. If we do receive that, then the anticipation is we may be able to hire a 3rd come January for the next academy. So if we don't get the grant, we're a little worse off because we already have it in the budget. If we get some grant, it's an offset of a percentage that's for 3 years. So we're ahead of the game. So it really doesn't hurt us one way or the other, it only helps us if we get the grant.
Because we're not relying on this money for year after year, obviously.
No, it is a year, it's a 3-year program, but my point is, we were gonna hire 2 anyway, so this will help offset it and may, in fact, help us then get a 3rd or 4th potentially, depending on the grant.
Okay.
And it also has an IT component to it, I think we also are applying for, in terms of upgrades of security cameras. It's not just for hiring cops, this is also a one-time capital improvement for like equipment, so.
Resolution R8. As far as, now, I understand, we had a grant writer the past couple of years here.
We've gone through, we've had a couple, we had Storm Benoit, we had Birdsall do some of it, Paul Steffens, we had approved him to do the summer food program and a couple other ones for us. And this would approve Bruno and Associates to take over that.
Okay. Because,
No, to be a grant writer, to supplement. Yeah.
because as far as like when you're doing these services that we're trying to grant write for,
Correct.
a lot of times, I mean, I never discussed anything with any one grant writer, or issues that I may want to, grants that I want to apply for. So even things such as the surface for the park, for the dog park on 65th, you know, is this gonna be, are we gonna be able to use this gentleman?
Yeah.
On an own basis now from now on?
Yeah. I mean, traditionally, our grant writers mostly dealt with the police, or Bob is, you know, with the bulletproof vest, the drunk driving enforcement. The police have a lot of little grants that the county always has.
Just,
And then our big ones, either the DOT one that our engineer deals with our grant writer, and the summer food program are usually our two biggest ones that we usually deal with.
can I just make a recommendation,
Sure.
Commissioner? The CFO has to account for all grants, including the applications, and we have to make sure that the resolutions are on the agenda appropriately. So if you have any specific issues or requests or interests that you would like to follow up on, if you could just pass it through me as a conduit, then I can certainly be aware of it and keep the agenda moving with the grant, because, you know, there's no one real single person. A grant writer is always consultant to the town, so they're really not involved in the management, the program, and the administration of that. So,
But like we're doing with this
Yeah.
grant, you know, you need a resolution that authorizes the application of the grant. And then there would be a resolution accepting the grant. And then when the money actually came in, there would be another resolution so Marge can book it appropriately in no budget, because then it has to be accepted into the budget. So there is a process that tracks it, that if we follow it, it makes life easier.
Yeah, I just wanna have that accessibility.
Yeah, no, not a
Something
problem.
I haven't
you can
approached.
certainly directly contact, but as long as you let me know
Yeah,
what,
sure.
you know, is going on, so I know, hey, there's a grant out there we're targeting. This way somebody in-house knows to follow up, because we've lost a lot of opportunities. If you remember at the end of last year, when we canceled all of those grants, what happens is no one really knows what's going on. You get a grant, it's there to be used in the year that you receive it, and then it just sits there, and we spend the money as if we had the grant, because we didn't get it, but it's never charged out. So while it was beneficial to us last year to have all of those grants to cancel, the true accounting method should be to use it in the year in which, you know, to match it in the year you receive it. So,
Next one is R12, okay, as far as approving the professional service agreement.
Correct.
Right, but what I see a lot, and this is important to the commissioners, a lot of these things are approved, should I say, on professional agreements, okay? It's not something now this contract here is for like $126,000.
Correct.
Okay, and as a commissioner, I would think that the best would be, when something goes over a large amount of dollars such as that, why wouldn't something like that be bidded?
There's a couple, you're correct in one theory in terms of if you only look at the monetary value that you're bidding, but you lose the quality, institutional knowledge, and other things that's why it's deemed a professional services agreement, and there's an actual exception in the bid rules for this reason. Because of time elements, you may get someone who would bid cheaper, an hourly rate for auditing services, but this is the auditor now that is going in on her second and a half year. She has institutional knowledge, she hits the ground running, so it's more efficient and actually cheaper and beneficial as to if you bring somebody else new in, who then has to relearn everything and start over, your 126 turns into 150. So a bid is really, there's no set dollar amount that you can bid for an audit. It's a moving target in some respects as to what's going to take and what it's not. You more get a dollar amount. So professional services agreement is traditionally the way you go with such things as auditors or people who provide a specialized service.
Well, you know, I have a little different theory on that, and I believe that there are many people who are qualified to do this. There's many other companies that do this that are qualified to come in here, and they've worked with other towns, obviously.
No, there are. There's
I believe we
just a lot of
solicited
money.
twice
Yeah.
for this one.
I mean, we put out for requests for qualifications. I don't recall how many. I don't think we got two. We got one. I think they were the only one that responded.
We went out twice. I think
Well,
the
we went out
first time we didn't
twice,
receive anything.
and the first time there was only 2 respondents. One wasn't qualified, the other was qualified. And then the second time, there were, I think, 2 qualifieds and 1 unqualified. So it was solicited.
You know, but as
That's
far
a
as, just to hit it, because I have a problem with this review board that we call it. That is supposedly with the mayor, the town attorney, and who else is the third?
The purchasing agent, and I'm involved in it.
But now we have 4 members?
It's usually those are the 4 people, and then Marge usually will sign off on the availability of funds. It depends on what you're dealing with. When you're dealing with auditing services, I'll sign off on it, but, I'm gonna talk to the CFO because that's the person she's gonna work with on a daily basis. If it's a board attorney or someone of that nature, then, I know my limitations in terms of, I read the CFO stuff for the auditing stuff and it all looks the same to me. She reads it with a different eye than I do.
I just put it on the record that I think this is something that should, be bidded out regardless. It's a lot of money, it's not $20,000. It is $126,000. And I feel that the review board is a little, influential about who they wanna choose. And I think it becomes a self-interest thing, about who they wanna reward the contractor. But I'm just putting that for the record. And I think as commissioners, it's something that we should make an ordinance where if something goes over a certain amount of dollars, it should be bidded. I just how I feel about it. I believe there's a lot of qualified people out there in the state of New Jersey that can handle the work here.
It was solicited as a proposal, not a bid, professional
Exactly.
service.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
that's-
that's the problem. I would have rather seen that as a bid.
I don't think you can bid a professional service. The proposal is
The bid
the same
process.
thing, that's the process in the law to solicit for pricing and qualifications of a professional service contract. You can do that in one of two ways, either by request for proposal or request for qualification, which is something less. But a bid is really for like a construction,
A job that's spec'd out.
Summer food program.
An item of
equipment, things of that nature.
I just find, it's just a little too influential for me. It seems like, it's a lot of power to the same three people over and over.
Well,
That's on the record. I'm just saying, I think it should be handled differently, but.
but in my defense, I don't get to vote for this, and neither does the CFO.
No.
So,
Three people that.
no, it still has to get approved by the board. It's not something that I sign off and I pick. I mean, any contract the CFO want to enter into, we still have to present it to the board for their approval, so. I mean, if I make a recommendation that someone doesn't like, you can always vote it down.
It's okay, you can talk it up, but that's something I recommend. So the next one here. On that date on that contract, as far as that R12 is concerned, I guess you have it from 1/13 to 12/31/13,
Yes.
and this is actually what's starting in May, being it's approved now.
No, it's an amendment.
So this is something that you're backtracking.
No, what happened, this contract was, I guess there was a format that the state comptroller's office indicated to the town to use. And so they used the same format for this specific professional service. The contract was actually, the proposal came in, it was $123,000, $126,000, whatever the amount is. And the certification of funds attached to that resolution initially, when the contract was awarded, was the full amount, but the resolution read $36,000. And so the state comptroller's office wanted to see all professional service contracts with the same format, not necessarily the same amount. So this is setting the record straight, that's all it is, it's a correction.
Okay, this is another question I have. R14,
Yes.
as far as requesting the planning board to amend and update, review the master plan. Now, these would be the board members that were appointed by the mayor?
This would be the current planning board. We have a master plan that has not been updated in over a decade. So what one of the zoning board attorneys or the town planner had indicated to me was they were seeing a lot of variance requests and things of that nature, and when you get to a point where it's simple variance requests, it's an indication that your master plan may not be where it needs to be for where the town is. So the way the process works is the governing body, the Board of Commissioners, suggests to the planning board to conduct an investigation, hearings. It's an open process. There has to be at least 2 public hearings. There has to be input from stakeholders in the community to develop or suggest amendments or revisions to the master plan. That then has to be adopted by the Board of Commissioners along with any zoning ordinance changes or updates that would reflect the master plan. So it's a somewhat long process. The town planner, the planning board has been looking at it to just see if we were at a point where we needed to do that. And essentially, the meeting I had with the one planner was, yeah, this is you have a lot of factories that no longer exist. You have a lot of buildings that are on a master plan that are not there. Things that are designated high-density industrial that now are residential neighborhoods. And there's different components to a master plan. There's also your environmental component in terms of your future desires for buildings or space and green acres or green space and things of that nature. So this is the beginning of the process. It authorizes them to do it.
All right. Will there be professional studies regarding this?
Correct.
That these people will get information from?
Yes.
What they recommend?
And there will be hearings, public hearings, that traditionally anytime you make a change to any master plan in any municipality, the public hearings are usually well attended by various groups. You'll have an environmental group that will want to talk about more parks. You may have people concerned with lines of sight or height or density or sidewalks or lighting. That's the master plan. We're also, part of the request is to do an economic study also. That's a component of the master plan, can be an economic development component. You have Bergenline Avenue that, how can you design transit hubs, parking spaces, municipal parking lots to promote business is another component. So the two main components would be building, future development, whether or not, how restrictive, how open, to what limit, to what type, and then economic in terms of how can you meet. So I kind of already reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, inviting them to partake in it. I reached out to commercial landowners down the waterfront to talk to them about it.
What concerns me about this resolution is that the fact that there's a lot of shenanigans that have been taking place with appointed board members with conflict of interest, and also that this is going to open doors for projects that are undesirable in certain neighborhoods. So by changing these variances to your favor, to what he may want, what's going to happen is it's going to open the door to this building probably getting approved, or buildings that people have been opposing for a long enough time. So if you put it in and say, oh, it's part of the law now, it was approved by the planning board, okay, which the members that are on this planning board, I don't think they're qualified. As far as, they've never dealt with that, or how that's, even half of them, if it affects their own neighborhood. So I'm a little concerned about this one, I'll be honest with you, because this just seems like an avenue you're preparing to open up Pandora's box for other problems to come, and you're gonna change what you wanna change regardless of what the community says. And that's been the case here for the last couple of projects that continue to try to go up on Boulevard East. We have 61st and Boulevard East, and the people over there in that district are complaining to no end of tomorrow that they're violating variances that they don't have, that they have to apply for. So by doing something like this and just passing and saying, well, it's something that's needed, that was in the plan, the planning board decided it, the 5 people again who are unqualified to make that decision, this opens the door for a lot of headaches again. And I'm seeing this as a problem, and I don't see it the way you're seeing it. Parking spots, parks. There isn't another room for another park in this town. They've eliminated all the spaces. There's three basketball courts in the entire town for 50,000 people. I got nothing but complaints from the children in here that I meet on the street every day. They took away our soccer field. They took away our basketball courts when they put that 58 project on Boulevard East. There was a lot of kids are very upset about that because there's nowhere to go. Then I would say, listen, you go to Miller, I have to walk all the way across town, Commissioner. Those aren't the real deal situations that I think that we need to pay attention to and what the people really want. And I see this as a problem, I really do. And if it isn't done responsibly, we're going to be back in the seat again with another headache. And people screaming and yelling, the people who live here and pay the taxes, because either the mayor has a vision, which he wants, which is his vision, but not the vision for the community or for their quality of life. That's what concerns me about
I got a
this.
question. How often should a master plan be revised? On a scenario like Western Yard?
I think the recommendation is every 6 to 10 years.
Every 6 to 10 years?
And we are, how old is ours?
No, it's over 6, it's supposed to be every 6 years.
I know, but what is ours, do you know? Ours is,
It's very old.
it's over 15 years.
Over 15?
80-something? Yeah, so 25
85.
years.
So we were,
They-
1985.
85, yeah, so, I mean, I was graduating high school. But, I mean, I understand your comments, and I don't necessarily disagree or
I
agree.
have a comment to add to what Commissioner White is saying. With regards to that, I mean, I know he's seeing from one end, but I'm also looking at it on another perspective. For example, we're looking at some of the projects to happen with regards to the parking lots. And the idea is to make it multiple purposes, where you have parking decks as well as a sports facility on the top, like similar to Union City, where they have a field on top of this building. So that's one of the things that I'm envisioning. I mean, if ever came to asking my opinion, I would look at something where you fulfill the purposes. Yeah, we're gonna do parking plus recreation for the kids. So it's like, I feel we should be involved in the decision making of whatever happens with that.
I mean, one of the goals of a good master plan really is to avoid piecemeal projects and zoning. It's to set a vision. And I don't know what the vision is, again, I don't vote, but the process of a master plan, an engineer, you can ask him, is a intense public hearings where people will come and present, right? I mean, they're not quiet, people show up at them. It is very participatory in terms of tradition of people will come and you will get things about, somebody will come and talk about trees, and someone will talk about the 61st Street. And I'm sure the neighbors who have those issues, this is an opportunity so they don't have to fight 14 battles for every future building. This is where they go and they present their one case and say, this is, you know, hey, this is our opportunity for the next 5, 10 years to set a direction for the town. So I understand what you're saying. There may be 3 different versions of what people desire or whatever. From my opinion, and whatever that's worth, that's better handled at one time with professionals in the planning board where everyone can come, where you are obligated under the land use laws to invite stakeholders, have meetings, and get input. You have one big discussion as to where is this town going, as opposed to what are we doing on 61st and Park, what are we doing on 52nd and Hudson, what are we doing here? It kind of encompasses as to what's our height restriction, what's our sewer capacity, what's our electrical capacity, what's our parking capacity. I mean, those are the bigger issues.
And that's definitely an issue. Let's go on to something else then. Well, I guess this is as far as for these handicap spots, okay?
Yes.
Now, when I walk around, especially in certain neighborhoods, 67th to like 64th Street from Boulevard East to Park area, I have more complaints over there as far as in regards to 4 hours, people sleeping in front of their houses in the driveway with their car, more afraid of getting it towed, nowhere to go for a parking spot. Now, in no way, I'm a doctor, I approve handicap spots for people, okay? As far as that situation, I mean, how are we dealing with this? Because obviously, you know, you do go to some blocks, and you gotta be concerned now. There's a point to everything. When you got 6 handicap spots on one street, that does create, there's an issue there, you know? And, I mean, there's gotta be a way we can deal with this. I don't know if the board is like reviewing all these applicants that have had handicap spots, if they're still alive at the time.
I can answer the question if you want.
Yeah, because I've been
So
concerned about that.
we created a handicap parking committee. I sit on it, Lieutenant Cacciatafaro, as the police officer, sits on it, and there is a doctor, Dr. Hernandez, retired doctor. The application comes, the first thing it does is Lieutenant Cacciatafaro makes sure that there is sufficient documentation, checks the license, do you have the permission of the owner to where you want to put that spot in front of. He then will come in front of the board. We will review the medicals most of the time, and if there's a line, we ask for additional information because you'll get a one-line, person has a bad back, person has a bad knee. We also do an unannounced site inspection where either Officer Cacciatafaro or Officer Rana will make a unannounced visit and go visit the person to do a visual inspection. You know, one thing what a doctor says, it's another thing. We also try to determine if there's a able driver in the house. So if it's a husband and wife and there's a husband and the wife is applying for the handicap, the husband's able, then they don't get it because he can pull up get her, get out, and drop her off. That's on the approval process, so we may be approving 2 tonight. I think we denied 3 or 4 at the last meeting, we only maybe looked at 6. And 3, we asked for more information.
And you denied 3 that were gonna post it on the agenda, but you just denied them as the board.
I'm saying there weren't even, I wouldn't even recommend them because we did a site inspection and there was a able driver. We did the one person lived in one of the overlooks and they already had a parking space, they wanted a handicap, and the handicap space we would give you would be further away than your current parking space. It just didn't make sense. The other thing that Cacciaferro does is he does go and review to make sure, because some people's conditions are transient. You know, I had surgery, you only need it for 6 months, I rehab. Some people unfortunately pass away, and their relatives don't let us know that, you know, they don't have the handicap spot. So he does go back and do a review of that. It's one of those things where it's a tough balance. I mean, if the board wants to sit there and say, we're doing a freeze on that because we feel now trust me, I would be happy because they're not easy decisions or pleasant decisions on my part. I really don't like denying somebody who has a condition or...
I don't know if this is a measure in place or not, but to implicate how many you can put on the street. Regardless what the situation.
You may want, I mean, it's an absolutely valid point where we could probably have the engineer go out and talk about percentage of a street that can be occupied by you know, driveways and, you know, there's probably some formula, I don't know, Rob, if we can probably figure some formula out as to how many buildings or residents are on the street and, you know, what's the square footage and is there a max? That would make life easier, personally on my part, because I could sit there and say, listen, there's a guideline, it doesn't meet it. Sorry, there's no more room on that street. You know, it's a touchy when you read some of the medical reports and you know, and you get into, you know, people who have cancer, people who, you know, live alone, and this is, you know, they have to go to their doctors and whatever. They're not easy decisions. And I understand the other side of there's no parking in town. So if anybody else wants to sit on the committee, I will give up my seat, trust me.
Okay.
Do you have to be from town? Like, why not?
And like you said before, it's a lot of parking space over there. People die or move and they never report.
Correct. We check them. The concept is to check them once a year.
Yeah.
So, and we also not only just check to see if you're still alive, we ask for an updated medical. So, you know, you as a doctor may sign off and say, we'll go back to you a year later and say, can you get us an updated medical from that doctor? Are you still in the same state? Are you still in the same condition? Because you get somebody who has a bad knee, they get a total knee replacement, and then...
Are there any penalties for?
No, it's one of those, you know, we just take your sign away.
Goodwill.
Okay, just the last one I have is resolution 25. Who is Herman Alberto Chapin? I'm just curious because, you know, that's why I'm always voting against these people being appointed to board members, as again, it's been a problem. Question is he an employee of the town? That's the first one.
No.
No.
Okay. And what is his background? Just out of curiosity. Ever sit on a board before?
I couldn't tell.
So
I'm not involved.
Yeah,
On a personal level, I'm not involved in the appointments to
All
board.
right, so I can't vote on this again. That's all I needed to know.
Just for clarification, Commissioner, if you can advise the clerk so we get your vote down. I know that one you're not voting, you're gonna vote no on 25? Are there any other ones? So we
Yeah, I'll take
record
that.
the vote active.
I missed one here that I wanted to ask. I'm sorry. Just one more.
Okay.
R13.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Explain that because I don't understand.
Okay, if you go to R13, what it is that to provide more efficiency with the way that the PEOs from the parking authority are able to present their case when they come to court, we have a project where we're providing them a unit that requires internet. because the town has such a great program with Verizon where the internet charges are very, very small compared to what we would get based on the amount of units that we need, we decided to do a shared service agreement where we are gonna, the town will take on the cost and we will reimburse on a monthly basis the exact amount that the bill will be for. So it's just to,
What is the cost now? What would it be?
it's,
What was the
it's right there, it's on the,
$398.
300 and, yeah,
Oh, no,
that's,
what was the quote that they gave you to have the internet there, through the pub, to keep the town?
Oh, I don't.
oh, you're gonna go over almost $70 between the unit, the monthly cost of the unit and the internet,
So it's like twice as much.
almost twice. Because we have volume here, so the cost is much less compared to what we need, which is like 12 units.
You know, I'm gonna say, I just always been against when it's an autonomous body. I think it should be self-sufficient. And, you know, it does collect revenues, et cetera. I mean, if money's an issue, obviously, whether you work in a department to find out where you could save, or, I know that would finally implement.
It's a two-way street due to the fact that when we have PEOs sitting in the court, every case that they lose because there's not sufficient evidence or whatever, the monies that get collected from the fines that they, you know, present outside come back to the town. So it's, you know, you're looking at it from the standpoint that the parking authority is an autonomous body, but also every fee from a parking ticket gets divided and the town collects on that as well. So if they give a ticket that is correct, all they're trying to do is to prove their point that this is what a ticket given to that person, and the person broke the law and they're trying to prove that. So, you know, if you want to, you know, the argument is based on giving accuracy when it comes to presenting the argument in court, so this particular instrument will give them that. And it requires internet, so the internet will be reimbursed to the town.
All right, I'm still gonna have to agree to keep it separate. I'm gonna write no one on 13,
Okay.
and, let me see, first one, this one I'm gonna abstain on the planning board, all 14. I think that, I just think there's gotta be something where people can be, as far as with these Boulevard East projects and stuff, this is just gonna open up a big door for a lot of headaches and a lot of unhappy taxpayers. So, I mean, unless there's another measure we can put the way we're gonna handle this and pre-existing headaches that are happening right now, that they can be guaranteed that this isn't gonna change, that they're not gonna have a 15-story building because the variances allow you to build it within a year, that's what I don't wanna see happen. So I'm gonna abstain on that one. Okay, on R14. I think that's it. Everything else is,
You're gonna vote?
yes on the rest.
And then we have,
Now we have a hearing and final adoption of ordinance 913, which is the ordinance authorizing installation of stop signs in the following intersections, which is Adams Street, 61st Street, Hudson Avenue, 65th Street, and Madison Street, 57th Street. And we have a hearing and final adoption of ordinance 1013, an ordinance amending chapter 299 of the code of the town of West New York regarding property maintenance. Hearing and final adoption of ordinance 1113, it's an ordinance repealing ordinance 213 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 338 of the code of the town of West New York regarding signs. And then we have an introduction of ordinance 1213, it's an ordinance amending chapter 345 of the code of the town of West New York regarding smoking. And then we have an introduction of ordinance 1313, it's an ordinance amending ordinances number 1010, 203, 2402, 1101, 1299, 3897, 2897, 2597, 2497, 1297, 3896, and 5695 regarding prohibited parking in various streets at certain times in the town of West New York.
Okay, I have two questions. Right. Let's start with the 05, because the 02 is a little more in detail. As far as what is going to be the change of these streets? Because I've been having trouble getting through the whole packet. As far as what prohibited parking, is it going to be times or?
Yeah, it's for
What is that
the sweeper.
Oh, for the sweeper thing. Okay, all right, I got you. Okay.
So what happens is that all these other ordinances
streets.
were written before but never implemented, so what
Okay.
we're doing is just implementing it so that it'll cover all the others.
Good, okay. Ordinance 2, this one, okay? As I read through this a little more detail, and as commissioners, I think you better pay attention to this one because as I read this now, I'm all for the community having to take care of their sidewalks, okay? And you're right, any other community, people clean the front of them. Even me, as when I was the DPW commissioner, I also used to give warnings out because of like dog waste that used to sit around a tree in front of someone's house, but nobody wanted to pick it up. Once I started to give warnings out, the people started to become more aware of somebody else letting the dog do that in front of their house. And things started to clean up, okay? And sometimes you have the person who owns it who's renting the house out, but they finally take some responsibility once they realize they can suffer a summons for it. Now, as I read through this, and I'm reading here, which is, I believe it starts at C, with the construction debris. I'm not keen on this because the DPW is not a business, meaning that a fee charged per pound, let me read back a little bit. The contractor owner shall be responsible for making an appointment with the Department of Public Works and delivers such debris and materials to be weighed and fee charged per pound, with the proper administrative procedures to be formulated by the Department of Public Works pursuant to this ordinance, but in no event unless the Board of Commissioners shall approve by resolution, shall the fee pound for removal of construction debris be more than 75 cents per pound. Now, what is that? If I'm reading this right, you're telling me that we're gonna pick up and charge them for construction debris removal? Is that the way I'm reading that?
I think they can request it, is the way I'm reading it.
But that's not, we're not a business, and the last thing we should be doing is picking up construction debris. There's other companies they can use other garbage haulers, you know, either get a bin if they have that amount of construction to pick up. That's their responsibility, not the taxpayer's responsibility. And even if you're paying 75 cents a pound, which is probably underpriced than what it would really cost them. So my point is, this is not something.
What, I'm sorry, which one, what was this?
299 1C. First
C.
page.
1C.
Yeah. First page.
Oh,
bottom
the debris from
paragraph.
construction should not be mixed.
Yeah, this is, you're putting the public work at another situation where you're dealing with construction debris removal. When you do construction, that's part of the builder's expense to have that removed. And when you're doing construction, the tenant shouldn't be doing the construction unless there are a construction person that has a license to do it. So my point is, this is not something that we should be getting into as the town, to be picking up this kind of garbage.
Now, my
Construction debris.
understanding of this one was, to start helping the residents with paving those bricks that are standing up because of the trees.
I'm gonna get into that one, that's another.
No, that's,
This is not what this
deep.
is?
no, this is saying that if you do
Well, that's just
construction in the
Construction.
house and you wanna toss out, construction material, that you can ask the town to remove it at 75 cents per pound. I mean, that's the way.
Yeah, that's not our business, that's not what we do, and, as the town. That's C, okay, that's one reason I'm against this. It's these little things, like with the sign ordinance that we went through, it's the same thing. They come down at the end and it changes the whole dynamic of what the title is on the top of this paper. In D, okay, this I'm against too. Property Owner Assistance Program, okay? The Board of Commissioners pursuant to the guidelines created by resolution may allow a homeowner assistance by the Department of Public Works for repairing sidewalks, including but not limited to concrete decorative pavers, trees, and other appurtenances to the sidewalk abutting the owner's property. Now, again, when somebody has that responsibility to that property, that's their responsibility, whether the tree breaks the sidewalk. So you're telling me with concrete work, so if we're gonna give them assistance, you're looking at like $3,000 to $5,000 worth of concrete work. That's insane. That's an expense the town should be incurring, or the taxpayers to fix somebody else's sidewalk.
Hold up, stop. Red flag on the flag.
All right, just so you know, that's just not gonna happen. You know how many people get pissed off, and then you're gonna have, well, you did their sidewalk, what about our sidewalk? What about my sidewalk? This is no good, it's opening a can of worms here. I mean, it's great you wanna help somebody, but this isn't the way to do it. And they have to hire their own concrete mason worker to fix their property, you know, that's not.
Now, let me ask you a question, with regards to that, because I think that everything has to be talked about, and, I mean, you got a point. The idea is to be able to give them assistance. How will you then put that, in other words, so that they will be getting some assistance? Should they be picking up the cost of the concrete, and then, because we have the person doing it now, we have fixed a lot of the pavers.
Yeah, but when I look at that with the pavers, like if you're on 60th Street, that was something that the town, I guess, received funded money for. So on those main streets, as far as Bergen Line and 60th,
Right,
I could see that happening. It was responsibility that we put it down. It was through the grant and money or whatever that we received. When now you're talking side streets, you're talking personal sidewalks. It's not our responsibility. That's totally, strictly only the owner. You know what I mean? I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you
I
can't
mean,
do this.
the pavers, the concept of the pavers is, when it was decided, it was to enhance the decorative nature, whether you agree with that or not.
right, but the
But
roots of the trees
but
messed it up.
we required that abutting property owner to put that type of paver. Technically, they have the right to pull them up and put concrete down if it's a dangerous condition, this is an abutting sidewalk. Because we want to keep the pavers as is, we have decided, you know, in those areas where we created that beautification project long ago, that we want to maintain it. To expand that to regular concrete sidewalks, is opening the door to somewhat, who makes the decision and what is that based on, what's the rationale? Who gets assistance, what's
But
the
at the same
guidelines?
time, when there's a problem with someone falls and has a broken arm, then that person should go to the homeowner or the town?
Stewart versus 104, I forget the name of the street, it's a famous case in Jersey City. If you fall in front of a property that is owned or occupied less than 3 units, the homeowner does not have the responsibility to maintain the abutting sidewalk. If it is a non-occupied owner property or a commercial property with more than 3 units, the abutting property owner is required to maintain, and they are liable. Under no circumstances is the town liable for the public sidewalk for tripping, unless the town created the hazard. So, conversely, if you start an assistance program and you partake in the repair, and 5 years later that repair was not done properly, you open yourself up for liability because you were part of the process.
Tough decision.
That's
It's
it.
tough decision. We want to be helpful, but
Yeah, because I've
Sidewalk
seen
law,
people.
there's a whole case
well, the housing authority,
thing on sidewalk.
the housing can issue a ticket to that, or issue a warning to repair the sidewalk. And then they'll give them enough time, 30, 60 days. Remember, sometimes just breaking up the concrete and repaving it just to smooth it out, you know?
Yeah, it's
We're not
happened.
asking them to replace
And
the
then
sidewalk.
there's a whole gray area with trees
It's happened to me about 3 years ago. They forced me
to fix your
to
sidewalk.
fix my sidewalk, remember?
Yes.
And I did, I fixed it.
And there's a whole gray area with trees. Trees become an act of God.
Do
There's a whole.
you want to table this so we can look at it in another way, redo it?
You know, I guess, I agree with the cleaning of the sidewalk, which is definite, that'll be a
Right.
plus. And just, and pull these 2 other things out as far as us servicing anyone or picking up construction debris. That's like,
So you want to table it now?
You can carry it, I mean, that's your choice to carry it, and you may want a legal opinion as to,
What can be redone?
well, in terms of those 2 portions, just a legal opinion as to does this open us up to additional liability or issues. I think based upon the CFO's body language that there might be some concerns in hers in terms of financial responsibility, how do these programs run, and whether or not they're financially doable under our current technology.
Because it's going to go upstairs, we don't know, table it now, or?
pull it.
No, you have to pull it in public because it was
Okay.
noticed.
All right.
But you would just say this is going to be carried.
You still open up the hearing?
You can open it up, but before you make the opening, we will just announce that, and if someone still wants to speak on it, they have the right. But you will carry that to the June,
Carry or to?
carry, to the June meeting.
For further review?
Correct. And at that time, you may revise it, and you may vote on it at another hearing, or you may repeal the whole thing, or that would be up to you.
So can we carry it to be revised?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
All right, that's how I wanted to go on record.
No, we're just gonna carry, and then at that point,
Well,
you might
this
be in
was
a-
introduced
correct,
already,
correct.
so.
There's
So
no
today was
final,
the adoption from
Correct.
the previous revised.
and those revisions, from my perspective, that you can ask the town attorney, if you remove them, that would be a substantial change, enough that it would require
First reading.
another first reading, so that's how that would go. All right, any other issues, any other comments?
Okay.
Thank God.
You know what, we were all thinking the same thing at the same time.
Very funny.
What did that tell us? Oh, I didn't say that.
Still like to have a comment on it, you can. And just, you know, you don't have to.
Thank you.
Don't have to make that last time, just say it's gonna be carried.
Yes, well, I'm gonna do the pledge of allegiance, I'm gonna do the Open Public Meetings Act, and then I'm gonna do the roll call. And then I'm gonna turn to Stu and say, we're gonna move to the budget.
I'd like to find out, right, what's the amendment involved with what the
You need to
figure?
come up with it.
Good evening. Angel Marquis, 432 58th Street, West New York. Right. I'd like to find out this amendment, right, for the budget, right? What's the figure, the total figure that you're releasing today, right? If you have it available, right? And that would be a bigger figure, right, than the one that was proposed at the beginning.
This is the amendment that was put on April 17th, 2013. So it is the hearing, because by law we have to have a public hearing on the amendment. That amendment dealt with additional revenues received for Clean Communities Safe and Secure Grant 2010, Safe and Secure Grant 2013. So it went from 188,000 to 353,000, which then changed the total revenues.
Okay. Now, what's the figure for the total revenue?
Total revenue and appropriations, because they match, according to the amendment, was 72726.25.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So now we have a right figure, right, for the property tax assessments, right? For the tax increase.
I hope it's the right figure.
Okay. I got
But
it.
just so you know, Angel, Mr. Barkley, the formal adoption of the budget will be at the next regular scheduled meeting, which is in June 19th, I believe.
The June 19th.
June 19th meeting will be the vote on to formally adopt the budget.
As a matter of fact, what was the reason, right? Big reason, right, to change the regular commissioners meeting, right, from last week to this week? Do you know anything about it? Because I did ask at the webpage, I never got a reply from, right? And what was the original reason, right, to change the commissioners meeting on the original day for today?
Even though it has nothing to do with the budget, I
No,
don't know what the
agree.
reason is.
I agree, but I say, as the webpage was created, right, to make a tweeting, right, a linking, right, with the mayor, right, I did ask for time before, right, and say, well, what's the reason? A good reason must be involved with, right?
Did you get a response there?
No, not yet at all. Not yet at all. Nobody cares apparently, so the webpage, what email shows up, right, is a webpage to communicate with all the people, right, and to express their concerns, right, and nothing get through. So no matter you are better talking to a wall, you will get a better restaurant, right, for the wall than I say this publicly because everything I like to find out, you know, I don't like to talk because the people say, no, I like to find out the origin of everything, right? So that's why I ask personally, right? My name is clear, stating up on the webpage, right? And I did ask another question, right? But I don't get any reply from anyone. So I would like to find out if...
Did you get any of those emails through you?
Huh?
All the emails that come from the webpage go directly to the town clerk's office and then they get distributed
To the appropriate
to the appropriate person that.
Yeah, but this is, I did this question, right, about 3 weeks ago, right? As soon as you posted out, May the 2nd, right, that the meeting was postponed and so on, and say, what's the good reason, right, for the changing, for the postponement of the regular meeting, right? And from that date, I mean, a few days after, I put the question on and said, what's the good reason for it, right? So nobody shows up. I didn't come I don't like to come every single day, right?
No, I'm just trying to understand. You sent an email to the website?
I sent it, yeah, to the website,
Or you
right?
sent
I
an
sent
email?
on the tweet page, right?
Oh, tweet. No, you're not gonna get a response on the tweet page. There's an email contact us page.
Right.
And what happens is you send an email through that page, it goes to the clerk, and the clerk then determines who should respond to that, and it gets distributed.
So,
A tweet is a one-way event.
but what's the reason to create a tweeting page to communicate on the fastest way, right? With the governing body, right?
It's so that
It's just a publicizing thing that I've
Mr.
been growing
Valfrey,
up.
my apologies, but we opened it to discuss the particular item. You're going on another tag, and if you.
No, I agree. I think
The
so.
open
No, it
session,
just
you're
came out.
welcome to come back.
No, it just came out to my mind. There's so many things to be asking, right? That's why the message, the much more thing I was asking for the figure after the application.
All right, and then come back when we open up the
Alright,
public.
thank you,
Okay,
sir.
no,
All right?
thank you.
We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Anyone else wishes to be heard?
Okay, do I have a motion to close the hearing for the amendments to the calendar year 2013 budget? Okay, motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Frias. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner White?
Yes.
And Mayor Rocha. R1, the introduction of additional amendments to calendar year 2013 was pulled during the work session. And it would be heard on the special meeting of June 5th, correct? At 12, or time to be announced. And R2, the adoption of calendar year 2013 budget with the amendments will be carried to the regular commission meeting to June 19 at 12 noon. Okay, I'm gonna motion to carry the R2 to the June 19th meeting.
Motion.
Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Start the regular resolutions. R3 is reappointment of Charles D'Amico as the municipal court judge. R4 is a FY 2013 COPS hiring program. R5 is a FY 2013 Bulletproof Best Partnership BVP program. R6 is appointment of Robert Antolos as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator to fill the unexpired term of Michael Indri. R7 is an awarding resolution regarding 67th Street road improvements from Kennedy Boulevard to Palisade Avenue to Fort Cleanup. Resolution number 8 is approval of professional service agreement between the Town of West New York and Bruno Associates, Inc. for grant writing services. R9 is a resolution approving a professional service agreement between the Town of West New York and Major Consulting for planning services. R10 is an awarding resolution for printing services for the Town of West New York to Royal Printing Services. R11 is an awarding resolution, construction contract for the municipal pool renovations to Rich Paterno Builders, LLC. R12 is an amended resolution approving a professional service agreement for services of the auditing services. R13 is a resolution for a shared services agreement between the Town of West New York and the West New York Parking Authority. R14 is a resolution requesting the planning board to amend, update, revise, and review the master plan. R15 is a resolution, it's tax correction. R16 is another tax correction for various locations. R17 is a Hudson County Board tax appeal. R18 is a tax correction for 24th Avenue at Port Imperial. R19 is a refund of tax lien premiums. R20 is a refund of redemptions. R21 is refunds of tax overpayments. R22 is establishing restricted parking in front of one resident for the use by handicapped resident as follows: 569 62nd Street for Louis Vuitton. R23 is a resolution establishing a restricted parking in front of one resident for the use of handicapped residents as follows: 402 58th Street, Florence M. Kamensky. R24 is a resolution authorizing the Town of West New York to seek fair and open process in compliance with the pay-to-play statutes for the retention of fixed assets auditing services. Resolution number 25 is appointing German Alberto Chapin as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term of William Forrest, which term expires on 12/13/14. Resolution number 26, an appointment of Robert Johnson as Class 2 member of the Planning Board with term 5/23/13 to 5/22/14. R27 is a resolution approving a professional service agreement between the Town of Westmere and Remington and Vernick Engineers for environmental engineering services. R28 is a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise to receive bids for the summer food service program on the second occasion on Tuesday, June 11, 2013 at 10 a.m. in the town clerk's office. Okay, I'm just going to put it on the record that Commissioner Wiley during the work session abstained to number R14. Correct? Do I have a motion?
I also, just for the record, I voted no on R13. No, I'm going to change my vote right now on R14 to a no. Okay? And R25. I just want to comment on two of them, which is very important. The one that has me most concerned, especially with Boulevard East residents, okay, is this R14. Requesting the planning board to amend, update, revise, and review the master plan. I'm going to stick particularly with the concerns. This is something that we do, they're supposed to be doing every, I believe they told me 6 to 10 years. And it's been a number of years that it hasn't been done. What concerns me about this is, now I understand we need to look to the future for the growth of West New York and where we're going to and how we're going to accommodate all these people that we continue putting more apartments. 700 new residents will be moving in down on the waterfront. And of course, there's new buildings going up here right inside West New York within the city. And again, there's a lot of situations as far as parking where these people are going to continue to go. And we know that we have a lot of problems here already with the parking situation up on 67th and all over town pretty much. And what concerns me here that I feel like they're opening up another door here for another way for things to get approved that sometimes the community disapproves of. For example, when we have this Boulevard East project that we've been trying to build continuously. And we've been fighting for many years. It's not the first time that the project has gone up that the community has fought up there. And especially with the last project in Meridia, which again, I understand that the side is appealing at this time. What's happening is, what happens when they revise this map and they decide on what certain parts of the community will be high density or what they're allowed to do, will happen is sometimes they'll expand the variances. So for a lot of buildings that are going up right now on they're trying to push one on 61st, this building that they want to put up. Again, it doesn't comply to the variances, and they're requesting from the board again to expand the variance so that they can build this particular project with a certain amount of parking space within a certain amount of footage. And again, what this is doing now, opening the door legally for them to do that. And if these variances pass and these reports are given where, again, planning board, which would be, again, appointed by Mayor Roque, and we know we come into a problem before with the conflict of interest with people who are being appointed who are employees of the town, okay, when it becomes very influential. So I'm bringing this to your attention as the community, and this is something I intend to very much put on top of, be aware, because I understand the things you're going through up there on 60th and Boulevard East, that we need to really watch this because one question was, are there going to be professional studies? Will there be people who are professional people that are going to require the knowledge to these individual planning board members to make those decisions? And it still concerns me because the qualifications of these people, again, that sit on this planning board, that's a concern to me. Because again, as we've seen in the past, very easily influenced and decisions can be made and said whether the community wants it. And as much as you've been concerned about that up there on Boulevard East, again, things sometimes get passed, even though it's something that the whole community doesn't want. So I'm going to ask, when they go about doing this, and when this time comes, and supposedly we're supposed to vote on this as commissioners at the end to approve this, I would like to see the guarantee that the existing headaches that we have now that are affecting the community, as far as 61st, as far as the Meridian, or any other project that they tried to do on Park Avenue that was knocked down. Again, that's something I wasn't aware of until the last minute, that it was going to get voted on for the parking authority to sell that property, okay, which totally would have obstructed that entire neighborhood where there's no parking there to begin with, okay? So I'm going to ask that when this goes through and be a little more involved with this one, is I'll definitely be against it, and we'll fight it together as we should, that we can guarantee that the existing headaches we have now with this Boulevard East, that those variances won't include those projects. That there'll be some restriction about what this community totally wants already. No, this is very important. There's no need to rush, and we're here for a public session. We'd like to hear.
Yeah, very good.
Have some respect for me, that's all I ask for.
I would like to add, I encourage every single one that's here today to be a participant on this project. This is not just going to be put there for some to make decisions on behalf of all of you. These boards are going to be open for all of you to attend and all of you to provide the plans, whether it be more parking for specific areas, more green spaces for the children to have recreation.
So we need the preliminary information.
Exactly. Well, you will have it, and that's why
information from Commissioner Wiley.
So,
excuse me, ma'am.
what I want
When
to
we
say
open
is,
for the public comment, you can come up and please
The issue
say
Go
is-
ahead, Commissioner Wiley.
okay, the issue is, okay, we know now that as far as our parks, there isn't any more room for another park. We don't have the space, it doesn't exist. And even when they built this project on 56th and Boulevard East, when they removed the basketball courts, we got a lot of complaints from the children, there's nowhere for them to go. I mean, we have 3 basketball courts in the entire town with 50,000 people. And it concerns me with this building, which is fine, these building projects that take place, and I understand renovations are important, but they have to be done responsibly. And this is something that I'm very concerned about. And it seems like when we close one door, they seem to try to open up another one, and that's what I'm concerned about. So as I said, let's pay attention to this as this is taking place. Let's get some security from the administration, especially with these Boulevard East projects, because if you change the variance, now they change the law, now it's within the law for them to pass it. So if it wasn't approved for, let's say, for 8 floors, now according to the new law and the new density that they approved, this can change from an 8th floor to a 14th floor again, okay? So I just want to make the public aware of this and that we're going to move forward with this, but just to pay attention, okay? And I am going to vote no on this, so this should not take place, because being there's only 3 commissioners here, you needed 3 votes to go through. So I'm voting no, so this isn't going to be approved tonight.
Wait.
Just to clarify, am I right?
You need a quorum, you need a quorum of 3, and then once you have a quorum, you can have a meeting. Of the meeting, you need a majority of the members present.
No, it's not.
To vote and pass on resolution.
Oh, what title?
Well, then why do we have 5 people?
No, it's not.
You're wrong.
Oh,
No,
I have a
it's
question.
not.
What title is he acting? What title is he acting in? A town attorney or town administrator?
Excuse me.
He's gonna pay for the job?
Mr. Cook,
It's not true.
Majority.
if
You
you
need
would
that
like to
3
comment,
members of the
What?
board.
you will do so at the public hearing.
What
Bequeath-
title does he hold? Town administrator or town attorney?
Mr. Cook, I would
What happened
advise
at
you
one
to
In
time?
other words, there's 3 commissioners, there's a quorum right now. So if I vote no, you still need 3 votes or something to approve.
Correct.
Exactly right, sir. You are right, Dr. Wiley.
So that's why, this is the stuff I need to watch. Okay, this is what I go through and get to read, okay?
We got your back, don't worry.
So in other words, if those 2 say yes, then it passes, is what you're saying?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, no, but he's saying it does.
Commissioner Wiley voting no on R 13, 14, and 25. Do I have a motion? Motion. Commissioner Frias, second by Vargas. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez, Commissioner Vargas, Commissioner Wiley.
Except for the rows, all right.
13, 14, and 25. We move on to the hearing and final adoption of the ordinances. One is an ordinance authorizing installation of stop signs at the following intersections: Adams Street at 61st Street, Hudson Avenue at 65th Street, and Madison Street and 57th Street.
The floor is now open for any comments on ordinance 01, please. Comments?
Who wishes to speak? Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 913? Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Okay. For the hearing and the final adoption adoption of ordinance 1013, it was decided during the work session that this hearing of final adoption be carried over to the June 19th meeting, which will be at 12 noon. So do I have a motion to carry this hearing of final
Just to
adoption?
clarify, this needs to further be reviewed by the law department, and as for Commissioner Wiley, his input with this particular ordinance is correct, and there's some things that we need to look at in order for this to be proper for both the residents and the town. So it's going to be reviewed again, and we're going to tweak it and make sure that this is done in another fashion. So we'll just move it.
So do I have a motion to carry this ordinance number 1013? Motion by Commissioner Frias, second by Commissioner Wiley. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? And Mayor Roca. We have a hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 1113, which is an ordinance repealing ordinance 213 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 338 of the Code of the Town of West New York regarding signs.
The floor is now open for anyone that wishes to be heard on ordinance 03, please.
May I?
Yes, ma'am. Proceed.
Okay, this would be on
Your name and address, please.
Oh, Janet Zorvich, 1407 Woodford Street, Mount Vernon, New Jersey. Okay, so this means like that's all null and void now. We go back to the
That is
original.
correct. That is correct. The whole ordinance, the Assemblywoman has agreed to meet with,
Yeah, I'm aware of that. My question would be, when I'm asking, and I'm sorry he's not here because I was really ready for him. Mr. Garcia, he spent a lot of money on this ordinance, and it's all money. Okay, we told him from the beginning it wasn't right, and obviously to the end, he wasn't right. I would like to know how much money he got paid to do this, and I would like him to reimburse the town for it. Because
you're more than welcome to do an offer.
oh, I have the offer. That's why I'm asking you to have him reimburse us. He spent over $20,000 on this ordinance, just from a few months that I went through. Okay? They do have a place in Trenton that you can call that will help you with ordinances. Because that's what they do. If he doesn't know that, we should remove him as an attorney now. Okay? Because he keeps, and you look at all your executive secretary meetings or whatever. No, we need to legally check this out. Well, sure, $150 an hour over and above his salary,
Right.
I too would want to do that. Okay, really, I mean, come on, that's common sense. He spent $51,000 on Mrs. Pasanti's case. How much more money has he spent, and how many cases has he lost? And I want the town to be reimbursed because he's not doing his job. And since when do you pay? It's like giving a kid an A when he's got an F. No, you have spent all this money needlessly, okay? He's losing the cases, and I want the town to be reimbursed.
Mr. Cook,
And I want that on the
she has
record.
the floor. Please be courteous to others. Thank you.
No, that's fine, I don't mind.
But
But I'm
you
serious.
are-
I would really like him to reimburse the town for all the cases he's lost, all the research he's done, because obviously he's been researching the wrong things, okay? And just like this ordinance. I can't even believe, I mean, I'm so glad he brought this up. Construction debris. Well, we have legal recycling. No offenses, there's some trouble. Like, why are you going to charge people for construction debris? Did this man read the ordinance before he put this in? Street maintenance? Come on. Please, the man's costing us a lot of money. Obviously, he advises you. And like I said, how much did he spend on this? And for what? For political retaliation? Mr. Sandy, political retaliation? Everything that's going on. This is a democracy. When we're going to speak about these things, you should listen to us, and you should understand. And no offense, this thing where there's 3 and the 2 override the vote, then why do we have 5? Cut the election and give us 3 people. Exactly. Why do we have to have 2 extra ones we got to fight with? Seriously, that's why the changes are being Everybody be responsible, okay? We've tried a commission form of government now since we've been incepted, and obviously it's not working. So I said, let's change it, let's do the right thing. And by the way, when we were talking about that ordinance with the abatements or whatever, what we just talking about with Cappadocia, with all the buildings and everything, listen to this. You people have given out 7 abatements in 2012. 2012, 7 abatement. You changed Meridia from 5 years to 15 years. Why? Oh, yes. We changed it back to 5?
It was never given a 15-year abatement.
Well, how come when I got the public records on the topic? No, it says that Mr. Gil Garcia said at the meeting, 5/16, that they are going to, they're asking for a 5-year abatement, and now they're changing to 15.
It was never approved.
Okay.
They have a 5-year abatement. The abatements given now in 2012 were all 5-year abatements.
All of them.
Yes,
Even the one down on the riverfront?
that was done in 2011.
And that was given how many years? 5?
No, that's not a 5-year abatement. I believe that's a 30-year.
That was the last finish. That was the last finish.
Okay, and these are the people that sued us that we have to pay back 100, what is it?
No, those are not those people.
Oh, that's the other abatement we gave us.
Depends upon who you mean by we, but if you mean the town, the answer is yes.
Okay. Guys, really, please think of what he's doing. All right, we have an opportunity tonight to do what's right. You really should have done it. You should have not voted on a lot of these resolutions, you know? Thank you very much. I apologize again.
Anyone else wishes to be heard?
Yes. Wayne Cook, 5130 North Jackson. On a side note, just to let the people know, there was a petition that went around to all the voters in town. We all signed it. It got put in by the town clerk. In November, the ordinance will be on the ballot where you could vote. And it will be off. They could never do it. Just to let you know that.
Anyone else wishes to be heard? Yes, sir.
Go around and pull the bodies.
That's your call.
Stand by the mic.
My name is Pat Cullen. 72, 57th Street, Western New Jersey. I'd like to give some praise to Mrs. DeMarco in the sense that when we were running together we can. Mrs. DeMarco was instrumental in making sure that people who wanted to vote for our candidates got to vote. So I salute Mr. DeMarco on that. However, I do want to say, with full due diligence to Mrs. DeMarco's jurisprudence degree, Dr. Wiley is correct, not Mr. DeMarco, on the fact that you would need 3 yes votes.
Mr. Collin, may I please start? This is a hearing to,
Sign.
Just on
For
the
signs.
ordinance
if you would like to make another comment.
Oh, my goodness, this is about the signs? This is about the
Yes,
signs?
this is ordinance 03. If you would like to comment, please feel free to come back on the open session.
This is the one where you withdraw.
That is
Oh, I apologize.
Not a problem, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anyone else wishes to be heard?
I would just like to second everything that Mrs. Orlovich said about Gil Garcia and his handling of the sign ordinance. That was a disgrace. He is an attorney. He doesn't represent the mayor. He's supposed to represent this town. He knew that ordinance was unconstitutional and he defended it. And then when he was forced to, the commissioners were forced to repeal it because of the petition, he joked about it, he laughed about it, and he thought it was a big joke. He is doing a great disservice to this town, and he should be fired.
Anyone else wishes to be heard on ordinance 11-13? Please.
wishes to be heard, can I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1113? Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Mayor Rowland. We have an introduction of ordinance number 1313, which is an ordinance amending ordinances number 1010, 203, 2402. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Introduction of ordinance 1213, which is an ordinance amending chapter 345 of the Code of the Town of West New York regarding smoking.
It is an ordinance that replaces an existing ordinance. It's an introduction of an ordinance that replaces an existing ordinance that would prohibit smoking on public property that the town maintains or owns. So no smoking in any municipal building, library, and that would include parks or playgrounds or anything of that nature.
Want to continue it?
Yeah, no, it's an update of it. The state expanded their rules and regulations on that. Ours was a little outdated. So we met with some anti-smoking advocates. As a result of this, signs will be placed to try to lessen exposure to smoking. So that's what it is. Not a problem.
It's still road shop, it's not the same.
Okay, do I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 1213? Motion by Commissioner Vargas, second by Commissioner Frias. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley?
Yes.
Mayor Rowe. Okay, so foregoing ordinance was adopted for the first reading by the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of the Town of West New York, New Jersey on May 22nd, 2013, and ordered published and will be further considered before final passage of the public hearing on June 19, 2013 at 12 noon at the Commissioners' Chambers, Municipal Building in West New York, New Jersey. A copy of this ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board upon the public notices customarily posted in the Town Hall of the Town of West New York, and a copy at no charge is available up to and including the time of such meeting to the member of the public of the town who shall request such copies of the office of the town clerk in said Town of West New York, New Jersey. 05 is an introduction of ordinance number 1313, which is an ordinance amending ordinances number 1010, 203, 2402, 1101, 1299, 3897, 2897, 2597, 2497, 1297, 3896, 5695, regarding prohibited parking on various streets at certain times in the town of West New York. So do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1313? Motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Frias. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez? Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Mayor Rowe.
We now open the floor for any comments.
Hi, Wayne Cook, 5131 Jackson Street. Couple of things. I know the mayor canceled last week's meeting for a fundraiser at La Palma. Tonight, he's at a fundraiser for Mr. Zira, along with the town attorney, the town director.
That's tomorrow, Mr. Cook.
Mr. Sirius's fundraiser is tomorrow.
What? Well, somebody lied to me.
Excuse me, can you just move
Somebody
on?
lied.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Sylvia Costa got that police car taken away from my understanding. And now he has another car, from my understanding, with license sign reading. Why does Sylvia Costa need a car with license sign reading?
My understanding, sir, I believe that the lights and the stars were removed from that vehicle. That was the original vehicle that was purchased many years ago for.
And also, several people pointed out to me the parking authority. That agreement. What kind of agreement is that? Intercommunication agreement.
Oh,
If I may, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
In order to be more efficient with the way that some fines are collected and the POs come and present their case, when they're arguing a case for a parking ticket, there's a program that we're getting hired for where the POs are required to use a unit that requires internet. Being that the town gets a really good program through Verizon, the idea is to get a lesser price on the internet services that those particular units are going to be getting. Rather than paying $70 for the whole thing, it's a lesser amount to the parking authority, to the town, which the parking authority will then reimburse the town every single one. The ordinance is there, and the 300 and for the internet service for those units to be used. That's what it is.
All right, I have another thing. I guess you people have heard that 23-page report out of the Western Board of Education. Mr. DeMarco named and mentioned that report several times as being the lead dog, the rat, the mayor right-hand man, and going through the superintendent's school. Correct? Yes or no? Did we read that 23-page report?
I did read reports, sir.
And your name is mentioned several times. You're a town employee or a school employee?
I'm a town employee.
Okay, what are you doing when we Board of Education visit? In my lifetime, I never saw a town administrator at Board of Education. And I've been around a lot longer than you've been. That's not a very good report. Not for anybody. Not for Mr. Bobby, not for yourself, not for Sylvia Costa, not for Mayor Roque. And you have no comment. So, for the children of West New York, and my grandkids that go to the West New York school system, I'm a 3-generation West New York. I went to school here, my kids went to school, and now my grandkids. So I qualify to talk about the school system. I'm a former school employee. So I could qualify. I've been involved in town for many years. I have no idea what you're doing at the board meeting. If you're not, you have no right to be there. The other day, you cursed me out at the board meeting. Not this past board meeting, but 2 past board meetings. Gave me the finger. And you work for the town, you gave the citizens the finger. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you know what's going to happen to you one day? The FBI is going to have cuffs for you, buddy.
Couple of matters. First, has the Board of Commissioners voted on the zoning, the loading zone and the overhanging balcony zone in Meridian, the Boulevard project?
No, ma'am.
Isn't that supposed to be voted upon?
It has not come to the Board of Commissioners to be voted on. Has not come to us.
I don't even know if they made an application.
Correct.
Okay. And the second matter is I would like to thank Commissioner Wiley for his comments on the Resolution 14, which is the recommendation that the Planning Board amend the master plan for the town. I'd like to address a comment that you made, Mr. DeMarco, during the work session in response to Commissioner Wiley. You said that this was to obviate the need for so many applications for variances. I don't think the fact that developers require so many variances means that there is a problem with the master plan. The problem is with the developers. They are excessive in their requests. They have no moderation, no consideration for anything but putting up the largest building possible in the smallest amount of space possible. The master plan does not need to be changed. The developers need to exercise moderation, and the commissioners and the mayor have to have respect for the existing law. My reaction to this when I saw this on the agenda was that this is just a means of facilitating the building of more of these monstrosities, such as the one that is under construction on Park Avenue and 61st Street, and of course the Meridian Boulevard, without any regard for what's required by the zoning laws and the quality of life. We shouldn't constantly lower the bar to satisfy the people who have lower standards. We're supposed to respect what's in place. If there is a genuine need for reform, that's one thing. But I think the master plan considered the fact that this is a town with very, very limited space, and I think they had the foresight to know that, and that's why they enacted these restrictions. I have no confidence that this is a good faith action on the part of the mayor. I have no confidence that the members that are appointed by the mayor and that are approved by this board will do the right thing. They will vote as they are told to vote, and it will not be according to principle. Thank you. And that is
name is Rose Puerto. I live at the Versailles. And Mr. DeMarco, thank you for the speakers. I have a couple of questions for the commissioners. And I was recently appointed to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. My question is, how were members appointed to the Board of Adjustment? I'm sorry. The mayor.
That's why I tell you, leadership is very responsible. You put in here as your mayor. I know you vote on 5 commissioners, but it's very important that you vote the right team. Because some of us have been misled, obviously, things have gone south the wrong way that any of us could ever imagine. When you vote a mayor, remember something, he appoints everybody on every board of the town. Park, Board of Ed, zoning, planning, planning, it's the whole 9. So this is the situation we're in. That's why I'm making you guys aware that we need to continue to watch this resolution 14 and continue to take those steps. That's what does it for me.
Well, Commissioner Wiley, just following on that, I was under the understanding, just from my own reading, because it's really the only way that I think I've educated myself in preparation for the zoning board. I was under the impression that the commissioners had a say or vetted the resumes and the applications for this. Is that not the case?
It's with the mayor appoints and the commission.
So you all approved me?
Yes, but as a
It comes to resolution in the agenda, we need to whatever.
But, okay, I'm a little confused only because what's the criteria? I mean, what are you looking for in people? If you're going to approve it, I think you would have to know something about us, no? Because, for example, when I'm sitting on the zoning board, when I saw that I was supposed to approve the chairman's passage and payment of the professional fees, I called him and I said, how do I know what these fees are? How can I approve it if I don't know what? And he went through the process and explained to me, well, Rose, this is the process. I vetted, and I said, well, how often are they RFP'd? You know, and I asked a ton of questions so that I would know what I was voting on. Do you have the same process, or is it just the mayor has appointed, it's the names are before you, and you approve it?
Yep.
But I'm asking you sincerely, what is the process?
Well, when everything comes to the agenda, we have the option to ask the question, who is this person? Mr. Wiley does it all the time. We ask questions, ask who this person is. If we don't feel comfortable with the appointee, we have the choice to vote yes or no on whether the person is being appointed.
And are the questions, do the commissioners often ask the questions about these people?
Sometimes we know who these people are, sometimes we do not.
Okay. All right. My question on the master plan. My understanding, and I went through the course, a couple of us went through the mandatory zoning board adjustment course, and there's a ton of information that's wonderful. I don't think that, my opinion is that I don't think we take it seriously enough. I don't know how strongly the commissioners feel about that the planning board members, and especially the zoning board members, who have a lot of responsibility because we change. We can approve things that are almost akin to spot zoning, which means we're almost rezoning the town if we don't make the right decisions. The guidance that was given was zero. It was basically sit on the board and don't worry, just make a good decision. That's really not what I learned in the course, and that's not what I learned through my reading of the documents. So I'm wondering, how do the commissioners feel about, I think, the lack of process and procedure in appointing these boards and oversight of these boards, that they're doing the right thing?
I voted no against probably the last 40 members that were approved. And like you said, there was never any information provided. There was never any information provided.
Talk up a little more, please. The man back there can't hear you. I know. Everybody wants to
As I said, I haven't appointed a member probably in the past 5-6 months. And like I said, when it came to my knowledge about who was sitting on these boards, obviously, and the way things coming from the community, this is something, like I said, I was never provided any information, any resume, or anything with their qualifications. And some of those members, I even knew them personally, and know that they have no qualifications for this job. So that's why I continue not to approve these. And you're right, it's something that should be a little more measured, something required of somebody. I mean, for me, I would rather not have somebody be voting on something until you can educate them enough to make them qualified to make those decisions.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you know, so this is what's been going on, and that's a lot of control. I feel, you know, that no matter what form of government it is, this can happen in the same situation. So, like I said, that's.
The master plan issue. Commissioner Wiley made points to the effect that if we adopted and changed the master plan, that would result in granting developers variances, works, and whatever, okay? I maintain.
Sorry,
that
my
was his comment.
Correct.
Okay, so, and what I'm saying is that,
She's using so
in
much
my
power.
opinion, what is happening now is exactly what he says would happen. The zoning board, like Porter said, okay, is the one, they're taking it on, the town, they're doing spot zoning, they're rezoning the town without having the authority to do that, by granting the variances that he says, you know, would happen with the new master plan. I think that the town should, the planning board should be allowed to encourage that they should seek at least another look at the master plan and see where we need to be. Just take a look at Hobo, okay? Look at growth has happened there under a master plan. The character of the town has stayed there. Developers are obviously making money because they're building, you know, high rises in the periphery of the town, while the center of the town is maintaining its character, and people want to move there. Okay? Look at what's happening here. You've got, you know, the proposal for the Meridian. You've got the proposal that we defeated for Park Terrace. Look at the Meridian monstrosity on 61st and Park Avenue. That's what's happening when the zoning board grants variances, okay? All the developers want to do is build the biggest, the highest density, and, you know, the most for their money in the smallest amount and the smallest plot of land. There's another application for leasing. This is the third application for the same site, okay? And it's just egregious what it's going to do. That's what we need. Instead of letting the zoning board do it by themselves without any supervision.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me?
I just had a question.
The mic, please.
You can sit right there.
Okay, thank you.
Just had a question about resolution number 12. It says approving a professional services agreement for services of auditing services. Can you explain that in detail? Like what company, what is it actually for?
It's a auditing firm called Spira. The state requires that the financials of any municipality, or Board of Education, or any public entity be audited. So they will conduct an audit. They issue a report. They have to cite recommendations. So it's a requirement by the state that even though the municipality is authorized to spend money by the budget, that an outside CPA firm essentially comes in and does a financial audit of how the money is spent, whether or not it's spent appropriately, and
I know what an audit is.
in connection with the regulations.
There was no name for any company, and I see the three companies, like the three resolutions before all had names.
Yeah,
I was just wondering what company it was.
That might just be an oversight. It's Spire.
Okay. Just another question. I noticed that Bill Garcia is not here, and the mayor's also not here. I wonder why the assistant town attorney isn't sitting here.
He's not the assistant town attorney, he's the assistant to the town attorney.
Okay, I'm sorry. Assistant to the town attorney, I'm sorry. I would assume that he would sit on the board. I don't know why Joe sitting here.
I see her every time.
I know you do, you know. But I still think that he should be sitting here, not sitting in the audience, especially. And especially on top of that, like Joe collecting a salary and then getting paid additional monies for being here in the meeting.
I don't get paid.
I mean, I have an Oprah on you putting in a voucher where you saying getting paid $500 for your time here in the meeting, 2 hours. I've seen that.
You want me to answer the question?
I mean, I've seen that also, but you're collecting a salary.
Do you want me to answer the question?
That should be included. It doesn't matter. I mean, it should be included in your salary. You're getting paid to work for our town and to do the right thing, and you shouldn't be paying us, getting more money out of us just for being here when you have to be here.
I'm not, sir. So if you'd like, I can answer that question.
Okay, you can say whatever you want. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, then
I mean, you can say I'll listen, you know, but it's still everybody else here just lies about everything going on. Nobody really tells me the truth. You're just going to say something that's going to go off the subject and not really answer my question.
Let him answer.
It's hard to have a conversation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Get riled up a little bit. At one point in time, I was an assistant town attorney, and my contract was to bill for my time. In October of last year, he asked me to be the town administrator. I no longer bill my time. I get a salary. So I do not get paid to sit here tonight, nor have I got paid to sit here or to go into any function or do anything above and beyond my salary as of October of 2012. Prior to that, the bills that you offered, you are correct. They do have time increments at $150 an hour. That was the contract, and that's what I got paid.
I mean, I don't have the contract in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I saw you got paid for the February meeting. I could be wrong, though. Thank you, though. Thank you.
I think it paid in February, but it was not for that year.
Oh, you got paid for February for like 2012.
From like 6 months ago. If you look at the date of the service, it's supposed to be date on it.
Hi, my name is Linda Kellerman. I live at 6600 Boulevard East. I've been a resident of West New York since 1978, and I have a son in the public school system in West New York, and I expect and desire a very high quality education from the public school system here. Last Thursday, on May 16th, I attended most of the Board of Education meeting, and I saw Mr. Wiley there, and at part of the meeting, the superintendent, John Fouter, read a report. I think it was from the Board of Education. Am I correct, Mr. Wiley, Dr. Wiley?
I was only there probably about 45 minutes.
But you heard part of the report.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Ma'am,
Right, now,
can you please address your questions to the chair?
okay, the question is for all the commissioners and Mr. DeMarco. If you read that report about the board, some allegations, fundraising, promotions or demotions based on fundraising for the mayor and other incidents. And it was, I think, from the Board of Education. I was wondering if any of the commissioners and Mr. DeMarco read the report.
I presented it.
What's your opinion? I'd like to hear from everybody.
I am not going to give you, I'm sorry, my apologies, I will not give you an opinion based on that at this current moment. If you would like, I would have to sit with you and we can talk about that.
Oh, how about Commissioner Vargas?
It's a personal opinion. This is not a professional opinion, but a personal one.
Mr. Vargas, personal, your defense. How about Mr. DeMarco, do you have a comment?
I didn't agree with the
Okay, how about Commissioner Wiley, what was your opinion? Did you read the report in full?
Being part of this, having to be a commissioner here, is very embarrassed. Very embarrassed by these commissioners, the people that were involved in that, should I say. There was a commissioner involved, that was in the report I read. I had no idea of anything that ever took place here, because they know I would never participate in that. That is not my MO. So I'm very embarrassed by that took place here. And that's why we're here, and I'm here trying to change it.
Okay, I have another question for all the commissioners. Mr. DeMarco, would you have confidence sending your child to the public school system in West New York based on the allegations in that report?
Ma'am, I have 3 children. All of them come to the schools here. They have grown up in this town, and all of them have come to the schools here.
I said, was it recently that they graduated, or?
There's 2 still in school and 1 will graduate.
Okay, so probably like Memorial.
My children go to school here.
Okay, so they're public school students. So I assume you have confidence, you still have confidence in the school system.
Well, they have turned out to be great kids. We have great teachers. We
Thank
have
you.
great
They have a great
I have utter confidence that our teachers are one of the best teachers I've
they
ever
are the
seen,
best.
because they take their time to take care of our children, educate them, and, you know, I cannot say anything better.
Mr. DeMarco, would you have confidence sending your child to
I don't even live in town.
How about Commissioner Wiley?
Well, I have,
You have 5 children, right?
yeah, I have a 3-year-old that'll be attending school very shortly here. And I'm very concerned. See, there's one thing I have to say, there are a lot of good teachers here in Westwood, but there is a situation where some of them want fired because of political retribution, and they want qualified teachers and good teachers. And as you see, we put the mayor's sister on there, with assistant teachers and family and friends, and they're not qualified. And I am against it, and that's why I'm running a recall, and I'm making a change. And the community has that opportunity where you can put somebody who's going to be responsible, appointing board members, and putting the proper people in charge where the board can make those decisions, cannot allow those things to happen to us. As you see, we had a problem here where our commissioner didn't show up for work, and they put it into a special meeting, a background meeting in the back where they made the community wait 2 hours. You know, they played the game with the community, which I totally disapprove. And then they come back and say, well, we can't discuss it. And the board just passed it through and chose not to put it on the table, and it died. That's totally disrespectful to the community. It's a disgrace, and it's horrible. You can sit up there as a board member and let that happen. That bothers me. So I will make that point when I become the mayor here, that no seats can change. If I can change them any sooner, I will be appointing people who are qualified, who are parents with children in the school here, and who are concerned about the education, and the teachers that are going to continue to teach our children here.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Rihanna Reisler, I'm 6600 Boulevard East. Rihanna, R-I-A-N-N-A, you can handle that these days. I'm like that girl who stole my name, but anyway. 6600 Boulevard East. Okay, considering where I live, back to the issue of the examination of the master plan for the city. When could we expect, as citizens of West New York, when could we expect to see the newly appointed members of the zoning board? That would be Mr. Garcia, Ms. Ferreira, Juan Juarez, Hermes, I can't say his last name, Baltagazzi, and Herman Chapin. When could we expect to see their resumes so that we're not all in the dark as to who it is who's making the final decisions really on the shaping of our town environmentally, physically, and also psychologically? Because overstuffed high-rises that seem to be popping up like weeds all over our town. Not only are they just aesthetically offensive to me, and I have a background in fine arts, but they are also just pouring too many individuals on our streets at this point. I have to walk three stops north of me in order to catch a bus in the morning and make sure that I get a seat after bus passes me by, because there are no seats to be had. Really, it just amazes me that we're supposed to understand that the shape of our town will be examined by individuals who are not just unknown to us, but according to your testimony or your statements, Count Wiley, Commissioner Wiley, is they're unknown to you as well. And that's all that I have to say.
What's the answer?
Those resumes?
I'm sorry?
You can override, you can request.
They're not there, we did.
We did
That's the point.
Yes. And Commissioner Wiley said that he didn't see in the resumes either, that he's, you never get it. And if he doesn't get them, I don't get them. Thank you.
What's the answer on that? When would we get those? I'm sorry for speaking out of order, Chairman, but.
I'm sorry, you asked me a question?
Could someone?
What's the answer? What's the answer to her question?
She's asking when did you see them? I'm asking her to request them by all.
We did.
There's no resumes. Would you
I wouldn't
require
have stood
them
up there
after the fact?
and you know, made those accusations if I hadn't checked first.
Or they say it's personal information and they won't give them to us.
No.
Next question, please.
Well, what happened to that question?
They do different
Hi, my name is Alan Gibbs. I live at 80 River Road in Summit, New Jersey. I work for Global Advisors on Smoke-Free Policy. We provided some information to the mayor and commissioners about smoke-free parks, and so I wanted to provide a little bit more information, ask 1 or 2 questions, and also just make sure that everyone present is fully informed on why we think it's a good idea that West New York is considering making all of its parks smoke-free. West New York is already one of 183 municipalities in the state, or 183 municipalities and counties in the state that have made some of their park areas smoke-free, and now with this ordinance, we're considering joining the over 100 that have made 100% of their parks smoke-free. This is a growing trend in New Jersey. You may have seen some news articles for it recently in Bergen County and Passaic County particularly. Just last night I was in Woodbridge, New Jersey, where they similar to what West New York is considering, they took a partial policy and made it 100%. One reason why many communities are considering doing this right now is because the New Jersey Department of Health, so that's the state agency, is providing free smoke-free park signs to municipalities that make their parks 100% smoke-free. So that gets rid of that barrier of the cost of the signs. And so many communities like West New York are now considering taking this step. And the question I have is, we previously communicated that now that the ordinance has been proposed, is there an estimate yet for how many signs will be needed? Because the sooner we get that estimate, we can make sure to set aside signs.
We don't have a hard estimate. That's the next process. Once we introduce it, those will be the next step.
Great. Okay. Good to know. So what we do is we have some signs in stock, and we'll get more soon. As soon as we get that estimate, we'll be able to set them aside in West New York, and then we also, along with the signs, comes a sticker that gets printed up that has the ordinance number to make sure it's enforceable. And so that, again, that is all free, that is all provided by the New Jersey Department of Health. So we're very excited to be a part of that and to help municipalities like this one make their parks 100% smoke-free. Thank you.
Next, please.
Ma'am,
I believe, no, I just didn't know.
Janet Dorgan, 1407 43rd Street, North Third. About this master plan, were we aware that this was going to happen? Or did this something that just came up? How long have we known about us having to do this master plan revision? Master plan revision.
It was something that was discussed several times by the planning board, the planners. So it's been in the works for about 6 months maybe.
6 months? Okay. Weren't you aware of it June 15, 2011?
There was I think there was a prior ordinance that was passed that actually funded it.
Excuse me?
Aware of it in what way, ma'am?
Well, I'm asking you, we're doing a re-evaluation, are we doing? A re-examination, what is it considered a master plan?
It's an examination of the master plan.
Okay, examination or re-evaluation?
Well, it's a re-examination, one is this.
What we haven't brought up is how is this going to affect our taxes?
The master plan?
Yes. Do we do reassessments? Do
No,
we do ratio? We don't do anything like
It's not
that.
a re-evaluation of property value.
Okay, it's just a re-evaluation of the
reassessment.
master plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank God.
not a
There was money involved, there really is.
It's not a reassessment.
Okay, so now the planning board, you know, is not qualified. I mean, that had been brought up, it's been proven. If you're the town, what are you now, town administrator? Maybe you could bring it to the town attorney. Hopefully, you could probably do something right way. And have them check into it.
I will pass that on.
All right, and maybe you can have an answer the next time you see it. Okay, questions now about, let me see. $7,000, you know, we have all your records, so.
Yes.
Okay, so $7,000 you took out of your pocket during Hurricane Sandy?
Yes.
And you paid the town for what?
I purchased 2,000 gallons of gasoline from Ramirez.
Was there a reason that we didn't have money in the township?
The town was closed, we had no electricity. Mr. Ramirez wouldn't
He
extend.
wanted cash?
He did, he wouldn't extend any credit.
So then why didn't you go to somebody else in the town that would extend credit during a hurricane? I mean, do we want people like this in our township? No offense.
He was the only person.
Do we owe him money?
No, ma'am. He was the only person that had gas and electricity.
So did you turn him in for what was that? What do they call that? You know, when you have the gas and you won't give it to somebody unless you got money or cash?
No, the town purchased the gas.
Yeah, but he wouldn't take it, I mean, he would not give it to you? We would have had no gas if this money, man didn't have $7,000.
We had to pay for the gas.
I know we have to pay for the gas. Did we have to pay for it during the storm? He could not extend credit to the township that he worked? Okay.
He is a private, he's a private individual. He didn't want to extend credit. When I met with the...
Did you call the rest of the town and see where they were getting gas? Maybe they complained it to you?
I don't know if you remember, there was no gas.
I do, but obviously the guy was like that, and is he a township person? Like, does he live here, just owns a business here? Or is it even in town, by the way? Where did you buy the $7,000 worth of gas?
Excuse me?
Where did you buy it?
From 60th Street and...
Okay, all right, well, I'm going to assume you ordered money. I can't see that you would have to pay up front, so our credit's really not that low, obviously. I mean, it's during the storm, come on. And you put it, and you had $7,000 in your pocket, which is really impressive.
I didn't have it in my pocket.
You had access to it.
Yes.
And you could get it during the storm, but he couldn't, and we couldn't get money.
I went...
You know, ethics committee, they can check into all that.
They can, not a problem.
The other thing would be now, you were getting paid $150 an hour from when? 2011?
Correct.
Okay, until 2012?
Correct.
October 2012?
Correct.
Up during Sandy, that's when you changed over, or
No.
after Sandy?
I changed over to 4 cents.
Oh, before Sandy, so you didn't get $150,000?
Correct. I did not bill
What is your salary now?
$110,000.
Okay, do you get paid extra for litigation?
No.
Or you get, that's
No.
it, that's all you get?
I think that's enough.
Well, I know, looking at what you got from 2011 to 12.
It's actually
You made up for it, very good. Okay, so now you're just telling me that this master plan had nothing to do with the new tax assessment, nobody's taxes are gonna get raised
Correct.
this year?
Correct.
Right,
It
okay.
is not a reevaluation of property.
All right, when will it be reevaluated?
When will what be reevaluated?
The township.
That would be up to the Board of Commissioners. I don't know when.
Oh, they're not gonna do that anytime soon, I guess, huh?
I don't know.
Well, how do we ask for them? If we ask for them, what would happen? Right now, if the town was to do a reassessment,
Correct.
what would happen?
When a reassessment occurs, you hire an outside company.
Right.
That company does an assessment of each property in town. Each property then gets reassessed at what they deem to be an appropriate value.
Okay. That's what it says here, June 15, 2011, exactly what you just said. You're telling me that you're doing another thing, but you're not doing this. Right here, Mr. DeBarger advised the town would have to do a reevaluation the town has not done in decades. The town would have to hire a company to obtain new assessed value, which could be a Pandora's box. Discussion ensued about the amount of the town services used by the waterfront inhabitants. Mr. DeBarger suggested restructuring settlement and paying cash up front.
Correct.
Okay.
Two different concepts, but yes.
All right, so that's the point. So in 2001, we're talking reevaluation, but now after the reevaluation, we're doing a
Ma'am?
Is this like a play on words? In other words, seriously?
Excuse me, Janice. Excuse me.
No, sorry.
Oh, okay, one more question. Do we ever have a reorganization meeting? Like, do we know who our mayor is? Do we know were we supposed to have a reorganization meeting that we canceled? And then the May 15th or the May 16th meeting?
Was it one meeting?
The last meeting that we canceled.
No, it's not in the agenda.
Excuse me?
It was not in the agendas.
No, I know that, but that's not important. When do you reorganize now? You just put it off until the May goes away, or what? No, we're not going to get an answer on that one?
I would not be able to answer you, I don't know.
Okay, will he ever be back, by the way? I mean, because it is May, when does he go to court? Well, I mean, are they in the fair tonight? I mean, do we have to wait? I'm out of time, okay, thank you so much. By the way, that vote was illegal. Robert's Rules Law.
Toby's
Okay,
Curious
Councilor,
Side.
606 Palisade Avenue. I would have addressed this in the last school board meeting, but Commissioner Vargas wasn't present. I would like to know why is he collecting a paycheck from the school board when he's not qualified for the job. Not very computer literate. Tomorrow I graduate on stage. Maybe I can take his position after he's
I would
done.
advise you to please address the board with respect.
That was very respectful. Where's the respect the board has for the town?
Sir, you're out of order. He's speaking. Thank you.
May I get an answer for my question, please?
If you have a question with regards to any person's particular job, the Board of Education, you need to go to the Board of Education and ask them that question. I will not be able, anyone here to answer that.
Well, he's not around the board. Yeah, he's right there.
Well, I'm asking him. I'm asking Commissioner
If
Vargas.
you would like to ask the Board of Education why they're paying them, you need to go to the Board of Education and their members and ask them that question. And address
Well,
that.
every time we'll ask him a question, we never get an answer.
You can speak in Spanish. You can talk in Spanish.
Oh, in Spanish? I don't speak Spanish.
I very, very well English.
All right.
Very well.
All right.
Will you answer? Okay.
May you answer my question?
Okay. Can you repeat the question one more time? Oh my God.
With respect as a commissioner.
No, I respect you too. I have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you. I would like to know why you're collecting the paycheck when you're not qualified for the job.
How do you know that I'm not qualified?
Because you don't have a GED, that's why.
I do have it.
Well, you don't?
I gave it to them on Johnson time when I have to give it. And what else you need to know?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we see the GED?
Who proctored the test?
Next, please.
606 Palisade.
My name is Omar Rodriguez, 303 50th Street. Actually, number one, I'd like to thank you guys for letting me speak at this meeting. It's good to see that democracy isn't completely gone in Westbrook. I really just wanted to address the people in this room today, the concerned citizens, the residents of West New York. I'd like to thank you all for being here to represent our town, number one. Number two, I'm a little disappointed. There's a lot of seating space in here, and we need to address that. I hope to see everyone who's in this room again at the next meeting with a friend. We've all seen that.
Will you address the board?
Yes. We've all seen that absolute power does indeed corrupt absolutely. And I'd just like to urge you all to put in some serious consideration to reforming this government and reforming our school board, because we deserve a government, we deserve an administration that cares about the concerns and well-being of its residents and puts that before their own wallet. We deserve a school board, an administration that is more concerned with student achievement than being political pawns. Mr. Wiley, you have shown a good deal of concern for some of the problems in our town, and I commend that. However, as I understand it, you are in opposition to a change of government. You prefer an appointed system. Is that correct? You prefer this commissioner's board?